Before we continue our journey into Norse mythology, let's ask a question. Who rules this world? We know of the giants, the ancient forces of chaos. We know how the world was fashioned from the body of the primeval giant Ymir. We know how three brothers, Odin, Vili, and Ve, established order. But even gods are not all the same. There were two clans, the Aesir and the Vanir. The Aesir, warriors, guardians, patrons of war and order. The Vanir, keepers of fertility, wealth, abundance, and magic. Their meeting was a clash of sky and soil, lightning and earth. Their war nearly shattered creation. Their union changed the fate of the gods forever. Today we'll tell who the Aesir are and who the Vanir are, how the Great War ignited and how it ended, how Asgard was built, about the gods and goddesses, their natures and gifts, about Valhalla and the fates of warriors, about the Norns, who spin the thread of destinies. This is Runes and Legends. Episode 3, The Aesir and the Vanir, Allies and Enemies. The Aesir are the children and descendants of Odin, the All-Father. They embodied sky and light, martial strength and sovereignty. Picture them as the living image of a Viking warband, disciplined, armed, ready for battle and voyage. Every Jarl and Konung believed his retinue stood under the protection of the Aesir. Victory in battle, renown in saga, and immortality in song depended on them. But there was another race of gods, the Vanir. Their homeland was Vanaheim. If the Aesir were fighters and guardians of order, the Vanir were keepers of the land. They personified fertility, wealth, abundance, and the continuity of life. Harvests, rains, and sunlight, winds and ocean swells were in their power. And if the magic of the Aesir was harsh and direct, the magic of spear and hammer, the magic of the Vanir was soft and mysterious, like a river that bears life. It was seiðr, an ancient art of foreseeing fate, bending it and governing wealth and the pull of hearts. The poetic Edda says the war between Aesir and Vanir began because of a woman. Her name was Gullveig, power of gold, thirst for gold. Gullveig came to Asgard and brought with her the craft of seiðr. She showed the Aesir that gold could be not only a metal, but a temptation. She taught people greed, wealth, and enchantments that break homes and destinies. The Aesir saw a threat in her. They were warriors and makers of order. But Gullveig awakened chaos. She led to greed and strife. She could alter destinies. She disturbed the world's accustomed order. So the Aesir resolved to destroy her. The sagas tell, 3 times they pierced her with spears. 3 times they burned her on a pyre. And 3 times Gullveig rose from the ashes, a fiery witch, laughing in the gods' faces. This tale feels like a mythic prototype of the phoenix, symbol of immortality. But among the Norse, it meant something else. No power could finally conquer seiðr. It returned again and again, an inescapable part of being. Thus, in Asgard, 2 worlds first collided, the world of weapons and order, and the world of magic and fate. And the collision was so great that a mighty war flared. The war between the Aesir and the Vanir entered memory as one of the longest and most terrible struggles in the history of the gods. The sagas name no exact years. How could they, when time then flowed differently? But the old storytellers repeated. This war lasted so long that men forgot its beginning. It was not merely a contest for power. It was a clash of 2 worldviews. The Aesir believed in order, discipline, martial strength, and personal valor. The Vanir embodied fertility, magic, and the hidden powers of the earth. The Aesir went to battle with spears and swords, in gleaming helms, arrayed like a true Viking warband. Their weapons were straightforward, their blows open. They relied on the strength of hands and the stoutness of hearts. Odin led them, cunning and pitiless as a commander, able to see the course of a battle before it began. At his side was Thor, the thunder god, Mjolnir in hand. The strike of his hammer loosed lightning, and the giants quailed at his very name. The Aesir fought like mortal warriors, but with the force of gods. Their battles crashed like thunder. Their spears flew like a storm wind. The Vanir answered differently. Their strength was not in blade or shield, but in sorcery. They wielded seiðr, an ancient craft by which one could alter fate. Instead of fighting in the open field, they smote their enemies with strange diseases. They ruined harvests, turned the earth barren, cast darkness over Asgard. They robbed the Aesir of luck. An army might march to battle certain of victory. Then suddenly everything turned against them. The Skalds said, if the Aesir wielded weapons, the Vanir wielded destiny itself. At times the Aesir prevailed. Their blades pierced foes. Their hammers shattered mountains. Next time luck went to the Vanir. Their spells unraveled Aesir plans. Their magic sapped even the mightiest warriors. Again and again, the balance tipped. Now to one side, now the other. Each time the end seemed near. Yet each time the world slid back toward chaos. The fighting laid the lands waste. What had been wrought with such effort after creation was undone. The Skalds said even Yggdrasil, the world tree, felt the weight of this war. Its leaves withered, its roots trembled. Men in Midgard saw reflections of the gods' war. Harvests failed. Sickness struck whole families. Storms and lightning crashed to earth. Mortals did not know who would win, but they felt. This war was not just a struggle of gods, but a battle for the world's very existence. And so it went, year after year. Neither Aesir nor Vanir could win a final victory. Weapons proved powerless before spells, and spells before stubbornness and martial might. It grew clear, if the war continued, the gods would destroy one another. Then there would be no Asgard, no Vanaheim, no men in Midgard. It was time to seek another path. When Aesir and Vanir understood that war would bring victory to none, a moment came that called not for strength, but for wisdom. The worlds were exhausted, and even Yggdrasil seemed to shiver with their fury. The gods gathered in council. They knew, either they would find a way to make peace, or together cast creation into chaos. But how to make peace while hatred still burned? How to trust those you had sought to destroy yesterday? The Aesir and Vanir performed a special rite. They came together and spat into a single vessel to mingle the breath and force of each clan. This spittle was not a mere symbol. For the gods it was sacred. From their bodies and spirits a new unity would be born. And from this mixture a being arose, the wisest of all living. They named him Kvasir. Kvasir was the child of peace. He belonged neither to Aesir alone nor to Vanir alone. He was begotten by both. Therefore he knew the answer to every question. The Skalds said, there was no person so wise that Kvasir could not answer him. He walked the worlds, giving knowledge to gods and men, and his coming was a sign. War begets only death. Peace begets wisdom. Thus the first alliance was sealed, but it was not enough. Distrust still lived in the gods' hearts. They knew. Words can be broken, an oath evaded. Then Odin proposed, to make this peace firm, we shall exchange hostages. The Vanir agreed. But whom to send? Only the finest. From Vanaheim 3 came to Asgard, Njord, god of sea, winds, and wealth. He could tame storms and grant prosperity to sailors. His sway reached over all tied to the sea and trade. He was a symbol of fortune and abundance. His arrival a great gain for the Aesir. Freyr, his son, god of summer and harvest. He governed rains and sunlight, bestowed fertility on fields and plenty on men. He was held to be the fairest and most generous of gods. With his coming, Asgard gained the strength of fertility, what the Aesir had lacked. Freyja, Freyr's sister, goddess of love and beauty, but also of seiðr. She brought the very sorcery once hated by the Aesir, now to become their weapon. Freyja was mighty, revered no less than Odin himself. Thus, the Aesir welcomed 3 of the greatest Vanir, and the union of the 2 clans found new breath. Together they grew stronger. The Aesir were still warriors and guardians, but now their strength was joined by the Vanir's abundance and magic. Peace between them set the course of all creation. Though the shadow of old enmity long lay over Asgard, this alliance became the foundation on which the gods' world stood, until fate would lead them to new trials. With peace made between Aesir and Vanir, the Aesir strengthened and transformed their realm. The alliance gave them new power, and it had to be embodied in a place that would be the heart of the gods. Thus, Asgard was built, the shining citadel in the heavens, the city of gods, the symbol of order, strength, and unity. Asgard did not stand upon the earth. It was raised in the sky, high above Midgard, the world of men. Invisible to human eyes, it was nonetheless ever near, like an idea, a dream, the unreachable height to which heroes aspire. But how to reach Asgard? From the earth, a single road led to it, a bridge called Bifrost. Men called it the rainbow, but the gods knew it was more than play of light. Bifrost was a living bridge, woven of fire, water, and air. It trembled beneath one's feet, and skalds called it the shivering road. Its colors were not random: red flame guarding the path against invaders, blue, the purity of air, green, the breath of the earth you leave behind. Not all could pass along Bifrost. It opened only to those permitted, the gods and the fallen heroes. And at the bridge stood a watchman, Heimdall. He dwelt at the bridge's foot, in a hall called Himinbjörg, Heavenly Mountains. He needed no sleep. He heard grass growing and a needle falling in another world. If danger drew near, he sounded his horn, Gjallarhorn, and all 9 worlds heard the call. Beyond Bifrost began Asgard, gleaming like gold in the sun. It was not merely a place. It was an idea made architecture. Everything there was fashioned by gods, seamless, flawless. Roads laid with clear amber, roofs sheathed in silver, columns hewn from enchanted stone unknown to men. Every hall and tower bore its own symbol and power. At Asgard's center rose the gods' main hall, Gladsheim. Its name means home of joy, but not the lightness of mirth, rather the triumph of order and strength. Here stood Odin's throne, carved from white stone and overlaid with golden filigree. Around it, 12 thrones for the principal Aesir. This hall was palace, council, and temple at once. Here the fates of worlds were decided. Here the gods gathered before great battles. Here they were silent when they knew Ragnarok drew near. There was another great hall, Vingolf, the Hall of Friends. This was the home of the goddesses, as mighty as the Aesir. Frigg, Freyja, Idun, Air, Skadi, each with her place and chambers. A different current flowed here, not martial, but life-giving. Here oaths were forged, wounds were healed, counsel was born. Here words were spoken that could decide as much as a hammer blow. Asgard was more than a city. It was the reflection of the ideal world the Aesir strove to preserve. Without, its great wall, built by giants. Within, order, light, glory, and something fragile. For even in Asgard there were cracks. For among the gods already lived one who would one day break everything. But that is for later. Among all Aesir, among all gods, one name stands apart. A name whispered before battle. A name not spoken in vain. A name known in every world. Odin. He is called the All-Father, Alfodr. Not because he is kind or coddling, but because he is root and crown, source of strength, maker of order, father of gods and men. He ruled Asgard from Gladsheim's throne, and from the high seat Hlidskjalf he could see all that happened in the 9 worlds. Yet even he, all-seeing as he was, knew that sight was not enough. So he sought more, always, all his life. Unlike the Olympians, each tied to one element, Odin bound together war and wisdom, sacrifice and magic, poetry and darkness. He did not only rule, he learned. And for learning, he did terrible things. The most famous tale tells how Odin gave his eye to Mimir, the giant guardian of the Well of Wisdom, for a single draught from the Well of Knowledge. He did not haggle or beg. He tore out his eye and cast it into the spring. Since then, he is often shown one-eyed, his gaze piercing a man to the bone. He does not only see, he understands, and that is more fearsome. But that was not his only sacrifice. To win the runes, source of magic, fate, power, and words, Odin went further still. He hanged himself upon the branches of Yggdrasil, the world tree, pierced with his own spear, without food or water. For 9 days and 9 nights he hung between worlds, on the brink of life and death, to wrench meaning from the deep. Then, as said in Havamal, the words of the High One, he saw the runes, symbols that were not merely letters, but living forces that could alter fate, and he took them. The price was a piece of his soul. Thus Odin became Lord of Magic, the first Skald, the father of spells. Odin never parted from Gungnir, his spear that never misses. Dwarfs forged it, and in it dwells the will to strike whom Odin wills. On his shoulders sit 2 ravens, Hugin, thought, Munin, memory. Each morning he sends them over all the worlds, and by noon they return to whisper what they have seen. He knows Hugin might fail to return one day, but most he fears losing Munin, memory, for without memory there is no self, not even for a god. Odin has more than 200 names, each not a mere mask, but a facet of his nature. Grimnir, the hidden one. Eager, the terrible. Har, the high. Bolverkr, worker of evil. Gangleri, the wanderer. Valfodr, father of the slain. He often walked Midgard in the guise of an old man, broad-brimmed hat, blue cloak, staff in hand. He sought those ready to show hospitality, honor, wit, or courage, and misfortune came to those who failed to recognize the guest. Odin fathered many gods. Thor, the thunderer, by the earth goddess. Balder, the god of light, by Frigg. Vidar, the silent avenger, by the giantess Gridr. Vali, the warrior born for vengeance, by Rindr. Hermodr, the messenger who will one day ride to hell. His family reflected all Asgard, diverse, complex, at times at odds. Odin is not a god you love. He is a god you respect and fear. He goes where others dare not tread. He brings magical knowledge into the world, but there is always a price. He is not only a ruler, he is the archetype of the seeker. In that lies his most human trait. But this is only the beginning. We will yet tell of his journeys, his pacts, his foreboding of Ragnarok, how a god who knows all still walks toward his fate. Where does a warrior's soul dwell after death? In the Norse tradition, not in paradise and not in hell, but in a hall of arms where feast and fight merge into one eternal cycle. And that hall bears a name known even to those far from myth: Valhalla. What is Valhalla? Valhalla is Odin's hall, set in Asgard, huge, shining, roofed in golden shields and spears, towering among the gods' other halls. Its name means Hall of the Fallen, from Valor, the slain, and Hull, hall. But not all enter there. Valhalla is not the abode of every dead soul. Only those who fell in battle with courage and honor may be chosen. Who decides who is worthy? The Valkyries, literally choosers of the slain. Not merely battle maidens. They are instruments of Odin's will. They ride the fields of war, fight in armor that gleams like moon ice, and at the last moment point to those who deserve to be taken to Asgard. At times they are merciful, at times pitiless. Their names include Gunnar, Battle, Rota, Sour of Confusion, Skuld, Det, one of the three Norns. They escort the fallen to Asgard, and those men awaken in Valhalla, alive, strong, deathless. Before the hall grows the grove Kvasir, its leaves of gold, glittering like flame. Skalds called it the fairest of all forests. Valhalla has 540 doors, and through each, 800 warriors can pass at once. That is an army of the future. Inside stretches an immense hall, tables laden with meat, mead, and cups. Shields hang from the rafters, spears are the beams. The dome gleams like the daylight sky. The clamor is great, but it is the clamor of strength, not chaos. Warriors brought to Valhalla are the Einherjar, single fighters. Each day they fight one another. Death is a game to them. They die, and at evening rise again. Each night they feast at long tables. They are fed the flesh of the boar, Seiðr, boiled by day and reborn by night. They drink mead that flows from the udder of the goat Heidrun, who browses on Yggdrasil's leaves. The mead is inexhaustible. It never ends. They laugh, argue, sing sagas, yet each one knows within, this is not paradise. It is preparation for Ragnarok. Odin is present at the feast, but he does not eat. He gives his food to his wolves. Gary, greedy, Freki, ravenous. He himself drinks only wine, the fare of his spirit. He watches, studies, remembers. He prepares his army. Valhalla is no consolation prize. It is the gods' reserve, a war resource. According to prophecy, on the day of Ragnarok, when the giants' host marches against the gods, Odin will lead the Einherjar from Valhalla, and together they will join the final battle. He knows he will fall. Yet even in that lies strength, for he prepares. He does not fear. Such is Valhalla, a hall of the dead who have not finished fighting, a hall where death is not an end, but a new beginning, a hall where every day is training for destiny. Asgard was not merely a palace, it was a realm, and every realm has a council. At the heart of Asgard, in glimmering Gladsheim, 12 thrones are set for the great Aesir, each a god who embodies a part of the world. They differ in nature, strength, and fate, but together they form the core of the pantheon, the soul of Asgard. Thor, defender of gods and men, first, and surely the most famous, is Thor, god of thunder, son of Odin and the earth goddess, the strongest of all gods. His hammer Mjolnir returns to his hand. When he strikes, the sky thunders. Thor is force, physical might, warriorly valor. He rides a chariot drawn by goats Tangenjoster and Tangrisnir, wears a belt of strength and iron gloves without which he cannot wield the hammer. He is seldom in Asgard. He spends most of his time in Jotunheim, battling giants and guarding the 9 worlds. To common folk, Thor is the nearest god. Not too refined, but just. Not bookwise, but honest. Always ready to help. Balder, god of light Balder, son of Odin and Frigg, is the god of light, spring, and beauty. They said, "He is so bright he shines." He was loved by all. Even enemies could not hate him. He was so pure. But his purity became the cause of tragedy. Because of him, the god's downfall begins. His death is the first note of Ragnarok. We will tell his story separately. His fate is too great for a brief mention. Tyr, god of courage. Tyr is the god of war, law, and honor. So brave was he that he laid his hand at the jaws of Fenrir, the prophetic wolf, so the other gods could, by trickery, bind him. When Fenrir learned he would not be freed, he bit off Tyr's hand. Since then, Tyr is one-handed, yet still among Asgard's greatest warriors. Where Odin acts with guile and Thor with brute force, Tyr is the embodiment of courage and sacrifice. Bragi, god of poetry. Bragi, god of the Skalds and husband of Idun. His speech is like a river, deep, smooth, clear. He was the first poet of Asgard. From him flow the arts of saga, lay, boast, and prayer. On his tongue, the runes, in his beard, silver of wisdom, in his heart, the will to keep heroes' memory. Heimdall, watcher of the bridge. Heimdall's sight pierces darkness. His hearing catches grass as it grows. He dwells by Bifrost at Asgard's gate. His task, to guard the gods from threats without. He bears the horn Gjallarhorn, and when he sounds it, all 9 worlds will hear Ragnarok's beginning. Born of 9 mothers, they say of him, which only deepens his mystery. Vidar, the silent avenger. Vidar, son of Odin and the giantess Gridr, speaks rarely, yet acts in a flash when his hour comes. He is the symbol of voiceless resolve. He wears a special shoe, sewn from scraps of leather from all the world. It is said he will avenge Odin's death, crushing Fenrir's jaws and piercing his heart. Vali, born for vengeance, Vali, another son of Odin by the goddess Rindr, was born expressly to avenge Balder. He grew in a single night, and by dawn had executed justice. He is the god of retribution, not chaotic but necessary, the punishment of fate. Ular, master of the hunt and snow, Ular, Thor's stepson, god of winter, bow, and skis, swift, deft, unerring, peerless in battle. In the north, hunters and winter warriors especially revered him. He comes without tracks and leaves with his quarry. Forseti, god of justice, Forseti, son of Balder and Nanna, rules in Glitnir, the hall where disputes are settled. He is the god of judgment. His words reconcile even age-old foes. The Skalds said, "Who enters Forseti's hall with a grievance leaves in peace." They do not fear him. They seek truth from him. Njord, lord of the sea. Njord is the Aesir's one great god from the Vanir. He is god of the sea, winds, and plenty. His home is Noatun, shipyard. He governs storm and squall, tides and trade. Merchants and sailors honored him. He can grant wealth and take it away in a heartbeat. Freyr, god of fertility, Njord's son, Freyr, is god of sun, summer, fertility, and peace. He rules harvest, rain, and light. He brings prosperity, and so is among the most venerated. He owns the magic ship Skidbladnir, which always has a favorable wind and can be folded into a pocket, and Gullinbursti, a golden, shining boar. He is the symbol of abundance and well-being. Loki, the outsider among the gods. And finally, the one you cannot ignore, Loki. He is no Aesir by birth, yet he dwells among them. Son of the giant Farbauti, Odin's sworn kinsman, friend, traitor, curse, and salvation of Asgard. Handsome, charming, quick-witted, but his cleverness is cunning. He does not simply sow chaos. He moves the story forward. At first, the Aesir tolerate him, then they need him, and then the end begins. We will tell of Loki separately. Without him, Ragnarok is impossible. Such are Asgard's Aesir. Together, they are the powers of order and fate. Each reflects a facet of the world: light, thunder, justice, treachery, love, vengeance, magic. Together, they hold the balance. For now. Asgard was not only a home for warriors, not only for gods with hammers, spears, and swords. At its heart are halls full of light and mystery, chambers where fate whispers softer than wind, places of those whose power is not in weapons, but in life, knowledge, healing, love, spells, and foresight. These are the goddesses of Asgard. They are not 12. They are more. They cannot be counted, no more than the faces of the moon. First among the goddesses is Frigg, Odin's wife. She is queen of Asgard, yet her power is not in her throne. She knows the destinies of all beings, yet never foretells them. This is her mystery. She knows but keeps silence. The ancient magic of women. Frigg is patroness of family, marriage, and birth. But there is the chill in her gaze of one who knows whom death will take before their time. Her palace is Fensalir, Hall of the Marsh, hidden among silvery lakes and morning mists. Not even Odin pries into it. If Frigg is queen, Freyja is queen of hearts. Sister of Freyr, daughter of Njord, she came from Vanaheim bringing the magic art of seiðr, the very craft the Aesir first feared, then accepted. Freyja is goddess of love, beauty, fertility, witches, and spells. She rides a chariot drawn by cats, wears the enchanted necklace Brisingamen, and her tears are red gold. Yet her soul bears loss. Her husband Odin went on distant wanderings, and since then Freyja weeps for him. Her tears glitter on earth as amber. Like Odin, Freyja shares the fallen. Half go to him in Valhalla, half to her in Folkvanger, the hall of warrior lovers. Idun, Bragi's wife, is the goddess of eternal youth. She keeps in her casket the apples of immortality. When the gods begin to age, they taste her fruit and grow young again. But once she was abducted, and the Aesir began to wither, the world shuddered. Without Idun, even immortals are mortal. She was saved, and the apples shone anew. Among the goddesses are Skadi, huntress, goddess of winter and snow, a giant's daughter. She came to Asgard seeking vengeance and stayed for peace. Air, healer. She tends wounds and sickness. Her name means mercy. Sif, Thor's wife with golden hair, a sign of fertility. Gefjon, the giver, who receives maidens who die. Var, goddess of oaths. All you promise, she hears. Snotra, goddess of wise women and restrained men. Gna, Hlin, and Fulla, Frigg's companions who carry out her will. None of them is a mere episode. Each is a power. Each is a hidden axis on which life turns. Above all and deeper than all live those who obey no one, not even the gods. 3 women, 3 sisters, 3 destinies. At the roots of Yggdrasil, by the well of Urdur, stands a white hall. There dwell the Norns, 3 beings who weave the world's fates. They are named Urdur, past, Verdandi, present, Skuld, future. Each day they draw water from the spring and pour it over Yggdrasil's roots so the tree of life will not wither. For if the tree dies, the 9 worlds die. But the Norns do more than this. They spin the threads of fate. Every being, from giant to child, has a thread. Sometimes it is bright, sometimes black, sometimes short, sometimes near endless. There are other Norns as well, some kind and of the gods, some light and of the elves, some dark and of the dwarfs. They come to each newborn and allot a destiny. None can escape their will. Not Odin, not Thor, not Freyja. Such is Asgard, filled with power, light, thunder, and blades, yet home also to those whose rule is quieter but deeper. Goddesses and Norns, the strands on which being itself hangs. All that the gods do, all that battles decide, is already written in a goddess's whisper, in Freyja's tear, in the pattern Skuld weaves. Asgard stands. The gods sit on their thrones. Peace has been forged. All seems stable. But within Asgard, there is a crack. Unseen, dangerous, lurking among them. Loki. He is not truly one of them, yet he lives beside them. Friend to Thor, blood brother to Odin, clever, cunning, useful, but not loyal. It is he who will begin the unraveling of everything. A storm is gathering, the balance is shifting, and even those who see fate cannot stop it. The countdown has begun. The next chapter awaits.
If you enjoyed this journey into Norse myth, subscribe for more stories of gods, giants, and ancient legends. The Old North still whispers.